Hi, it's Sandra. Welcome to another episode of Asexualise, my asexual life. This is supposed to be for education about asexuality, all things asexual, and I share my own asexual life journey in order to help you in yours. If you haven't already subscribe to this channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss an episode. Today's episode is all about how to have a healthy relationship. So it doesn't matter whether you're asexual, heterosexual, pansexual, bisexual, homosexual. Basically, the principles of a healthy relationship are universal. Obviously, there are some things like boundaries. Asexuals have to have more boundaries because of their comfortability with physical touch and sexual stuff. So, there's some more specific things to dive into about that. But, these are universally applicable to whatever sexuality and gender you are. So before we get stuck into it, if you're new to this channel, you don't know who I am Sandra Bellamy. I'm author of this awesome Asexual Perspectives book on Amazon. And this is all about love, life and sex from an asexual point of view and pretty much answers every question that you might possibly want to ask when you're new to asexuality or discovering the asexual spectrum. And it goes into not just the textbook definitions of asexuality, but it shows asexuality through the stories, real life stories contained within the book. So go and grab a copy of that now and let's get on with the show. So yes, how do you have a healthy relationship? Like, what should you be doing? If you're a bit confused because maybe you haven't grown up in a family that's been functional, maybe it's been a dysfunctional family, maybe you haven't even been brought up by two parents, maybe one got divorced, maybe one was drunk, maybe you've had issues with caregivers, maybe you were looked after by an auntie or something, or maybe stuff happened in your childhood and you developed unhealthy patterns of behavior and unhealthy relationships. And as an adult, it can be very difficult if you've been in that environment year after year to know the differences between a healthy relationship and an unhealthy relationship, because you can get into patterns and ways of being in an unhealthy way that you wouldn't realize is unhealthy because it's just normal to you if you've come from a dysfunctional family or caregiver background. So let's talk about what healthy relationships look like. Well, I bring this up specifically because I've been really, really busy. I've been out all day. It's now like gone 1 a.m. in the UK when I'm recording this live. And as I've been out, I've been looking for my mum's presents because my mum's birthday soon. And basically, I've witnessed people having really healthy relationships. And so this is what spurred me on to speak this video to talk about this. So I'll give you some examples. So I was in Nando's earlier, and this guy was with this woman, and he was so good with her. And I thought, this is an example of guy who's really healthy for this woman. Right. So in this scenario, they're both waiting for their meals, Nando's meals, and he is holding her hand really lovingly across the table. And so he's cupping his hand around hers, and he's just literally letting it like sit there. So healthy relationships are all about caring for the person. This includes when you touch them and in your body language. There should be no grabbing, no wrist grabbing, no hair grabbing, no hair pulling as a joke. No, no body parts should be basically pulled or yanked or anything like that. Whenever you're touching someone, it should be very soft, gentle, kind and caring and loving. It shouldn't be grabbing or, trying to some guys pull women's hair and it's just, you don't do stuff like that. That's really disrespectful, right? So basically this guy, I'll tell you his behavior because of why it was so good. So he was cupping his hand in hers and he was holding it dearly. And so, that was very, very good. And then other things he did, he listened to her needs. So she was saying what she needed for her meal. For example, she wanted a straw. So he went round, I guess he's not used to Nando's. And he went round looking for a straw for her. He couldn't find a straw and came back and said, I can't find a straw for you. But the point was, he went out of his way to get something that she wanted because he knew it would please her and make her happy. Right? And he was also asking, he's getting her cutlery for her. So he's basically in service to her, right? And obviously, gender roles have changed over the years. And, people have different levels of comfortability and things that they like and dislike. But in general, if we go to kind of more traditional male and female roles, a healthy relationship would look like that, where the guy is literally taking care of the woman, he is providing for the woman. If he's out, he was literally getting things for her. He's in service to her. So a guy who's healthy will be in service to his woman. A guy who's unhealthy will basically not want to do things for his woman because he wants the minimal effort he can possibly put in. Why should he bother is his attitude, right? And he'll try to get the maximum out of her for the minimal effort. This is an unhealthy guy. A healthy guy would be loving, caring, kind, and would actually put time, energy, and effort into making his woman happy, right? Obviously, you can be any gender and do this. This is normal manners. This is healthy relationship because it basically means you're caring for the person. You're a caretaker of that person. You care for that person. Part of your job as a loving partner, healthy partner, is to keep that person safe. Traditionally, in a male female role, the guy would have to protect the woman and be of service to her and keep her safe. This is still true to this day, but both of you should be keeping the other safe. You should be providing open communication. You should be providing service to one another, and you should be protecting the other's heart and caring for the person. This is not about being possessive or ownership. It's about being in service to. Like, you do stuff for them because you want to make them happy. So this guy was, like asking, basically she was saying that she wanted a straw, like I said, and there was no straw. Then he was asking, did you want some sauces and stuff like this? And then he's putting the sauce on her plate for her and stuff like that. So he was caretaking for her. And what happened before they even got to this stage of them waiting for the meal and getting the sauces, etc., is they were discussing what's happening in their lives. They were both sharing their lives with each other. One of them clearly was a teacher and was talking about their terms and when they're working and when they're not. And so this is really important in a relationship. Although you have your separate lives, because you are in a relationship, you should be sharing your life automatically with the other. And it was like he was reciting her schedule back to her to make sure he'd listen to her. So this is called active listening. So someone who's actively listening is a healthy person. It means they are paying attention to what you've said and they are actively hearing what you've said. So when you're sat down for a meal with someone, you should be switching off your phone. Your phone should be on silent. It should be away. You shouldn't be on your phone, right? There are people who do social media like I do. And if I do that, I will have to ask my friends if I want to do anything like that. Like, can I film a shorts video quickly and stuff like that? But I have to be very careful of that. But a lot of the time, I will literally turn my phone off and put it away, and I'll make sure they get a lot of time where I'm not on that phone, right? Because I don't want to be on that phone when I'm with them. It's quality time with them. But obviously, if I'm doing something for social media, I need to ask their permission because I'm in their company. And I can't do it all the time because that would be disrespectful and rude. You have to have quality time with people, with your person, right? So what have we covered so far? We've covered the fact that when you hold someone, you hold them lovingly, endearingly. You're not about dominance and possessiveness. You're on about like kind and caringness. And that's when a woman's hand is held in a guy's hand and cupping it. This shows that it's loving and caring. So you don't want any grabbing, you don't want any like dominance thing. I spoke to you recently about when I went clubbing. And this guy was kissing this girl, but he had his hands around her throat. This is a very controlling, dominating thing. You should never do this. If his hand was to slip, he could really seriously hurt her. And it's in the strangling position. You know, you don't want someone like that, right? So we've covered like how to hold someone, right? And this includes like when you're holding someone and you're being respectful, you have to hold them in such a way that's respectful of their boundaries, that you're not just like putting your hands all over their body if you know, especially if it's not what they want, and in a way that's really just geared towards their body and you don't give a toss about them, right? That you have to do what's comfortable for both of you as well, physically, you know? So we've got how to hold the person, and then obviously we've got the fact that they share their life with each other. They share their schedules with each other. So in a healthy relationship, you would both be talking about your lives. You would be keeping the other person informed. And you would do this naturally. You wouldn't expect the person to say, "Hey, like, what have you done today?" Every single day. That's just going to get monotonous and boring. And it's like they're playing a mother-father role, right? What you do is, yes, you ask the person about their day, but you also share parts of your day. So you would ask them questions, but you'd also share parts of your life and day. I have come across in the past numerous guys on Facebook dating, which I don't actively go on anymore. And it was like, it was all one-sided. Like, you can ask me any questions, right? And whilst that might seem a good thing, right? I can ask the person any questions. That shouldn't be a relationship. That you can't make a relationship if you're just asking questions. This is just like an interview on News at 10 or something. You're not there for that, right? You're there to share your lives with each other and to share experiences with each other, and you're there to share parts of your life voluntarily with the other person. The other person shouldn't have to feel like it's question time, right? You should be literally asking them, like, how did your day go? And you should also be remembering what they told you. Like, this guy was very good. He was remembering her schedule. He's like reciting it back to her, right? So basically, active listening is listening and repeating back what the person said so they know that you have listened to them, heard them. And you should be picking up on threads of what they've said previously. So, for example, if you are interested in a potential relationship, or you're actually dating someone or in a relationship, and say like, "Oh, I've got to go to the doctors," you can then ask, "Oh, okay, how, like, I hope it's not anything serious. Like, did you want to share what you're going for?" And they usually probably will, or they might just offer it, because really, if you're having a very caring, loving relationship, you usually say why you're going to the doctors and what you're going for, especially if you're further on in the relationship, right? But you could just ask them, like, do you want to share what you're going for? I hope it's nothing serious, this type of thing. And then you'd follow up with them afterwards, like, find out, like, oh, when is your doctor's appointment? If it's 3 o'clock, then you message them afterwards, like 5 o'clock or something, say, hey, how is your doctor's appointment? Because you care about them, you care about their well-being, you care about their welfare. And if you don't care about their well-being and welfare, then you're not the right person for them. They're not the right person for you, because they deserve better, basically. So you should be caring about the welfare of that person. It's all about a very loving, caring, committed relationship. And you look out for each other like your bestest friends. And you share your day with the other person, like, especially if you're having a long distance relationship or you don't live with the person. You should be sharing your day with the other person, as in explaining what happened that day, what's happening in the next days or coming days. So that person has an idea of your schedule, so they feel quite secure in that relationship. If you don't tell them what's going on, right, they're not a mind reader. They don't know what's going on. They don't understand your life or you. And the more they don't understand your life or you, the more there's a disconnect there, and the more it's horrible feeling. There'll just be a disconnect from you. They won't understand you. You won't understand each other. They'll feel like they're giving to you and sharing their world with you, whereas you're just kind of rebuffing it. So you should be naturally sharing your days with each other, like saying what happened. And if you've got, if you're seeing friends, don't just go off and not speak to them. Say, hey, I'm hanging out with my friends tomorrow. I won't be able to speak to you for that time, from such and such to such and such. I won't be available. So they know that it's not you that's not talking to them. They know that you're busy. This is how you have a healthy relationship and communicate, right? If you're having a relationship, it means you're sharing your life with that person, even if you don't live with them. You're sharing your world with them. You're sharing with them. Otherwise, you may just be on, well, just be on your own and not even bother saying anything to anyone, right? But you need to share your world and life with them. I mean, more and more people are having relationships online these days, and a lot of them aren't even living together, right? And especially if they've got different careers or they're at different stages, like if one's studying and one's at home, like there's going to be a displacement there. So it's even more important now than ever that you keep the communication open and going. But even when you live with someone, you still need to be texting them to say, if you're going out or what you're doing or how your day's gone. Most people, like if they've got breaks at work, they would be messaging their other half or a partner, and they would say, hey, I'm on a break now, how's your day going? Because you'd be catching up with the person. If you're the type of person that doesn't like talking to your partner on a break, I don't personally think that's good, but sometimes people don't even have breaks in the day, in which case you need to just let the person know, hey, I'm not going to be able to speak to you when I'm working because I don't have breaks, or they're very short, or I just like need time to myself. But you should still keep some communication open. I mean, if they've got like a doctor's appointment, then you'd probably message them on a break saying, hey, how did your doctor's appointment go? Because it's something that might be quite difficult for them. I think it's all about being there, but you have to obviously discuss your level of comfortability and how much you like communicating and frequency. And so there should be a balance there between you spending time with them, communicating with them, and obviously doing your own thing, seeing your own friends. But so long as a person is kept informed, usually they're a lot happier and more secure in the relationship. It's when people don't talk to each other and don't keep people informed. And it's like, if you're going out with your mates like a couple of nights in a row or 3 nights in a row, and you haven't even made time for the person, then you're in a relationship with, that's not good, right? You should be making some time, like messaging them and saying, hey, I'm out like now or something, or making some time to communicate. You should be communicating with them daily to keep the communication going and alive, right? Because like if you were living with someone, you'd see them daily, right? This is how a normal relationship works. But if we're having like a long distance relationship or we don't live with the person, then you need to be communicating daily to keep the connection going. Because when you don't hear from the other person for quite a long time, there's a disconnect there, and it feels like you're disconnected from them. And then it begins to feel uneasy, and then you begin to feel maybe even insecure and not secure. But you can't be secure with a person who's not persistent and consistent. So whatever you do, whether you decide to contact the person and breaks or whether you decide not to, consistency is important, right? So, like maybe you text them every morning, you wake up and go, hey, honey, I'm going in the shower now, loving you, missing you. And then off you go in your shower. Maybe at night, once you finish work, it's like, hey, I've finished work now. How's your day gone? But they're not going to be guaranteed to be answering your messages straight away. So you have to understand that when you message someone, they've got their own life too. They might even be on a different time zone if you're really long distance, but they've got their own life. So you can't expect them to reply straight away. But there should be some points in the week where you're both actively having communication at the same time with each other. You don't just want to be missing each other's messages, because then, you're never actually together to communicate. And what you need to be doing, especially if you don't live together and it's long distance it's long distance, right? You need to be setting time aside every week to have quality time with that person, like video calling with them, or in the very least audio calling with them. But I'd highly recommend video calling, and you need to work out a schedule with that person of when you can both video call together. This means you're having quality time together, because some things over text do get misconstrued. Sometimes it's hard to say everything over text. Sometimes there's so much going on in your life that you need to actually be able to talk to the person. And when you sit there and you're talking to a person face to face, you can actually see their body language. You can see whether they're actively listening to you or not. You can tell a lot from video calls, so you can't tell through messages. So the more you're getting to know the person, the more they should be actually actively arranging schedules with you. And if the other person is not putting as much time, energy, and effort into the relationship as you, then it will feel unbalanced. Healthy relationships are all about balance, about both people putting equal amounts of time, energy, and effort into it. If one person stops putting time, energy, and effort into it, and the other person feels like they're doing all the work, the other person will stop putting time, energy, and effort, and they will go elsewhere, right? They can go elsewhere at any point in the relationship. You have to understand that. You have to understand that the person is valuable who's with you if they treat you well. And therefore, you should value them, and you should understand that just because they're spending time with you doesn't mean to say they've got tons of time on their hands. It necessarily, it means that they are giving their precious time to you, and you should be appreciative of that. So, healthy relationships are all about mutual respect, mutual appreciation, mutual admiration, both being in some service to each other, both wanting to take care of each other, both being highly communicative with each other, both sharing their day and world with each other, both allocating some quality time together every week in person, which can be video call, and you're making sure that you're keeping the romance and connection alive, right? And it helps if you're both similar attachment styles, or one's a secure attachment style if one's an insecure attachment style. So, for example, attachment styles are very important. And if you've got, for example, someone who's anxiously attached and then someone who's avoidant attached, that is really unhealthy relationship, because the person who's anxious will want to hear from that person in the relationship a lot. And if there's any problems, they'll be anxious to sort it out, and it'll be on their mind. And the avoidant person will just avoid facing the fact that there is an issue, and they will basically not talk to the person and spend time away from that person, avoid the issue. This is a really unhealthy relationship. The person with anxiety feels like they're abandoned. They feel like, that they're clawing at straws all the time, and the avoidant person just can feel claustrophobic and like they just irritated because they want to avoid the situation. So this is a really unhealthy relationship. If you have two anxious people, it can also be unhealthy, because you both get anxious and you both get insecure with each other. And one set of anxiety and insecurity can play off another, and it can become more intense. The best thing to do is, if you're anxious, is to get someone who's securely attached. Therefore, they want to spend quality time with you, but if they spend time away from you, they're securing themselves so that they've got good boundaries with other people, and they also are secure in their relationship with you. So going to boundaries are all about rules and standards you have for the relationship, and things that that person doesn't or shouldn't overstep. Um, so this is about, it's very important to have standards and boundaries. So one of the boundaries might be that you don't like being touched in certain places. So for example, you don't like your breasts being touched in public, which of course is what most people wouldn't want. And then, like if the person's starting to try and grope them in public, then that's way overstepping your boundaries. And that's a big no-no, and that's big disrespect. Um, Maybe your boundary is like, for example, I'm trying to give an example. Maybe there's something that you don't like, and then they purposely go and do it, right? That's overstepping your boundaries. So both people should be able to express their feelings as well, and hold a safe place for the other to express their feelings. So there shouldn't be a situation where you can't talk to the person, or you feel you can't talk because you're frightened of what they're going to say or do. You both should be holding a safe space for each other. It doesn't mean to say that the person can't get angry with you, but they should be expressing the anger in a healthy way. So someone who expresses anger in an unhealthy way will be shouting and screaming and swearing and stuff like that. Someone who expresses anger in a healthy way would be saying, I'm really angry right now. I'm feeling angry. And this is why. Because when this happens, or when you do this, it makes me feel this. Right? This is not going around pointing the finger saying, I hate you. You're absolutely useless. Fuck off. Excuse my language. It's saying, I'm really upset right now. I'm really angry. And this is why, because when you do this, I feel this. So you're talking about their behavior rather than attacking them as a person. And you're expressing and saying, I feel this. When this happens, I feel that. So for example, when you come home from work and you just come and sit and watch TV and you don't say anything to me, I feel abandoned and neglected because I've been at home all day and haven't spoke to anyone, and then I have no conversation from you. So I feel like I'm alone. And, you're basically saying about the behavior they do. Or when you come home, you expect me to have dinner on the table, yet I'm at art class, so there's no way I can do that. Or I've got this that I do. Or you shouldn't expect me to do that because we should be taking it in turns to do the cooking. And all this type of thing. So it's all about having healthy communication when you're open, honest. But if the other person doesn't hold a safe space and place for you to actually express yourself and makes you feel fearful, like they're going to leave you if you say something, they're going to shout at you if you say something, then this is not a healthy relationship, right? Both people should be having a safe space and making a safe space for the other person to say what they like and be themselves. So even if you have an argument, then it would be more like a debate, and one person may go off and say, I'm going for a walk 'cause I'm really angry with you now and I don't like the way you spoke to me. And then, you might be angry back. But instead of going rah, 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 you say, okay, you go for your walk. I appreciate you're angry with me. I'm also angry at the moment. And I'm letting you know that. So you have a right to be angry. Angry is an emotion that you can feel. You don't want to be repressing any emotion. Some people think, oh, you can't get angry with someone because that's really bad. In your life, you're probably going to get angry with your partner sometimes because, life is not perfect. They're not perfect. You both have different experiences of the same thing. You both have different opinions. When something happens, you both might look at it in a different way. And so it's bound to happen sometimes, but it's the way you deal with it. You deal with it in a mature way and fashion. And this is also about healthy relationships. It's about maturity, no matter how old you are. It's about having open, honest dialogue, sharing your emotions and feelings, being emotionally available for each other while still protecting your own heart as much as possible and having your own life. But if one person is putting more time, energy, and effort in, and the other person isn't bothering you more, that's become very unhealthy. And you have to say something, speak up, or you'll have to end the relationship if it carries on, because it should not be one-sided. If you're putting the time, energy, effort in, and they're not, they clearly don't care about you as much as you do about them, because actions speak louder than words. And even if they say they care, they don't care as much, right? So it's all about equality in a relationship, whatever gender you are, in terms of the feelings, the emotions, the communication, the time, energy, and effort. And you should never get into a relationship thinking that your career is more important than the other person's career or job, that you're more important than the other person, that your life's more important than the other person's life. I come across some guys and they literally think a woman's got to work all around their career and be at their beck and call. And so they will only communicate when they happen to be available, rather than actually setting allocated time for that person and fitting that person into their life. They just expect that other person, such as the woman, to like conform to their life and conform to their job. A woman's job is or career is just as important as a guy's. In the 21st century, we should always be knowing this by now. Women have their own careers, their own lives, can take care of themselves. It doesn't mean to say a guy can't take care of a woman. It just means to say they can fend for themselves. They're not damsel in distress anymore. You know what I'm saying? Which is healthy. You don't want to have a woman that's so needy she can't look after herself or do anything for herself, because then you're more like a slave to her than an actual partner. Do you know what I mean? But at the same time, you can have the desire and need to take care of her. I like being taken care of, even though I can take care of myself. I like being looked after. I like being cooked for. I like being cleaned for. I like it when a guy's really romantic and leaves me love notes. I like it when a guy's caring and say, "Hey, how's your health today? How are you doing today?" I like it when a guy is like supporting me in my career, and that's another thing which I was trying to explain is that one person's career is not more important than the other, and you should both be supportive of each other's careers. You should both be emotionally supportive, and you should both be supportive of that person's career. You should both be checking in with each other, saying, "How's your job going? How's your work? How's your career? How's your life going? Like, tell me." One thing I find really effective is if you both do projects, you both share your projects with each other. That can be verbally. You don't have to both work on the same projects, although a lot of couples that work on a business together, some find it hard, but others find it very good because you're sharing, like a work and career takes a lot of your life away from each other, a lot of your time away from each other. But if you actually build something together, then you spend more time with each other and it can actually make you stronger, or you've got something at least to talk about as well with each other, right? Hobbies and interests, it's important to have your own hobbies and interests, but it's important to have some shared ones as well. In a healthy relationship, you need to be able to like have some things in common, because if you've got nothing in common, you're not really got anything to talk about, and it's all going to be based around physical stuff unless you've got some interests and some things you can share together. So you can do some things separately, some things with friends, and then share things with each other. Also, a healthy relationship usually means that, you're inclusive of your family and friends. There's some time when you're going to introduce your partner to your parents, to your friends. They don't have to like go around hanging out with your friends and stuff like that, but you should at least introduce them as much as possible in some way. Like if you, for example, like especially if you're a very family orientated person, you would introduce them to your parents and you would explain to them parents, and you'd also like you wouldn't allow your parents or family to be abusive or verbally abusive or horrible to your partner, right? You'd stick up for your partner. You'd be respectful towards your partner, right? I've seen guys who are sometimes mummies boys, and if the mummy says something and she doesn't like the partner, he'll just sit there and not say anything, and this is really bad, right? You want to be mature in the relationship. A healthy relationship means both people choose of their own free will to be in it. That's really important, that you are an adult, so who's respectful of the other person, that you actually let your family and friends know that you do have a partner, or that you're dating someone, or got interest in a potential relationship with someone. So you keep your friends informed as well. That's important. In healthy relationships with your friends, you don't want to be keeping big stuff like that from them, because they might wonder, like, why aren't you speaking to them as much anymore? Why aren't you spending as much time with them? But you still need to spend time with your friends. Don't ever drop your friends. You just need to know that if you get a partner, you're going to have to allocate some of your time to that partner. And if you are already maxed out and busy, where are you going to fit that partner into your life? Right? I come across some guys and they just expect the woman to be, like I said, at their beck and call, and just be able to drop the things they want to do at a minute's notice or less than that. And yet the person like won't do that for them. That's really wrong. That's not healthy. That's again one-sided. So you've got to understand that the other person's time is precious. The other person doesn't have to give you their time. And you should both be valuing the other's time, right? And valuing each other. That shouldn't go over time. That should become more stronger over time, right? And healthy relationships for asexuals with sexuals, for example, would be around boundaries to do with sex and sexual acts and stuff like that. The person should be respecting you. The person shouldn't be like saying stuff to try to disprove your asexuality. They shouldn't be making fun of your asexuality. They should be putting you down. They should not accept it. If you've got someone that doesn't accept your asexuality, they're no good for you. It's not going to be a healthy relationship, but they can't accept you for who you are. A healthy relationship, people accept you for who you are, the good and the bad, But obviously, if you don't wanna be having really bad a healthy relationship means you doesn't mean you've got really bad stuff. It means you've dealt with that bad stuff first. But what I mean to say is through good times and bad. So say you're just having a bad day at work, that a person should be there for you. You shouldn't be afraid that you've got to be perfect all the time or all your life's got to be good all the time, because no one's life is. You should be able to go to that person, whether it's a good day or a bad day, and express that to the person. That's a healthy relationship, is expressing how your day went, expressing your feelings, emotions. An unhealthy relationship where you have to repress them. You live in fear, and and they haven't got your back. You feel like you're on your own and you're battling with them. It shouldn't be a fight. It should be a situation where you're both being loving, kind, and caring towards each other. You're both listening to each other. You're both sharing your days and world with each other. You've got stuff in common with each other, and you value the other person's time and you appreciate them. I've had guys and they think just because I message them a lot, I've got loads of time on my hands. That's actually not the case. If I spent time messaging a guy a lot, it's because I really care about him and want to get to know him better. And sometimes it does take quite a few messages to be able to understand the person more. And I'm doing that to for their benefit and mine, so we can make sure that we are a good match, and that we're not misplaced in that way. Um, and so, when you're in a healthy relationship, you would be allocating some time each week for your friends, and obviously some time for your partner and some time for yourself. And, you would basically be very inclusive of them. And you wouldn't hold things against them. You wouldn't hold grudges against them. You wouldn't resent them. And so, this is how you have a healthy relationship. And you want what's best for the person. You want the other person to be happy. You want what's best for them. And you don't withhold information. You don't lie to them. You don't deceive them. You don't be dishonest. I was going to say that goes without saying, really, but I think it's important to say it, right? If you withhold information, that's deception. That's nearly the same as lying, right? You shouldn't be lying and you shouldn't be deceiving. You should be very blatantly honest. And a healthy relationship involves both people being honest and open and telling the other person what they don't want to hear sometimes. It's not about just telling the other person what they want to hear. They need to be able to share what they don't want to hear. The truth, your truth. Right, address the elephant in the room. Like, what is it you really think and want to say, but you're not saying it? So always, always discuss things and open communication, share thoughts and feelings, emotions, share secrets, but hold a safe space for the other person to do it and keep secrets for each other. And when you're out, so instead of telling someone what to wear, what to do, how to think, or how to be, that's unhealthy. So you shouldn't be going around telling someone, oh, you need to wear this or you need to look like this, because you don't really care about the person for who they are if you're trying to change them to how you want them to be. You can make suggestions oh, this, I think this jacket would look nice on you when you're out with them, for example. But if you turn around and say to them, I think you should go out and buy this jacket because I think it would look good on you, it's the way you do it. That's like a command and a demand. Right? I think you should do this with your hair. Why isn't the person's hair good enough already for you? I think you should do this with your face. Why isn't it good enough already? In a healthy relationship, you shouldn't be wanting to change the person's physical appearance and stuff like that, right? Because if you're not happy with the way they are, then that's not good, is it? Obviously, if you've got the right person for you, they should look good for you in the first place. But people's weight can change. Do you know what I mean? And stuff like that. So you can't expect them to be the same weight all the time, you know. And so, it requires open discussion. And everyone, the other person, has a choice always to walk away. And in a healthy relationship, you got to be prepared to walk away if that person isn't treating you right. Because if they're not treating you right, it's not a healthy relationship anyway. But in order to be healthy for yourself, if someone isn't going to give you what you need, then you have to leave. So in a healthy relationship, both people can meet each other's needs in the relationship as much as possible. Can't meet every single need of that person in their life. An unhealthy relationship, is when people think each other's perfect. You're never going to be perfect. An unhealthy relationship is when you expect all your needs to be matched by that person. But when you're in a relationship, you do have to, be able to fulfill the needs of the other person in the relationship sense. So if someone's feels like they're feeling lonely and lost and left out and neglected because you haven't been talking to them for days, or you know like or when you said you would, you haven't kept your word, then that's going to feel really disconcerting for them, uneasy for them, unhappy for them. And you can't have a healthy relationship with someone who's up and down like a yo-yo with their feelings and emotions. Right? You can't have a healthy relationship with someone who's not healthy. You can't have a secure relationship with someone who makes you feel insecure by their behavior and their actions or lack of. So the action should be persistent, consistent throughout long period of time. And you should be able to go to them about anything and everything. Nothing should be off limits. The person shouldn't be hiding their phone from you either. Like in a healthy relationship, a person's an open book, and you can see their phone. And I'm not saying they should be going through your messages and stuff like that, but you shouldn't be hiding things from them. If you're hiding stuff from them, it's not a healthy relationship. Basically, negative stuff like hiding, deceiving, lying, cheating, all this stuff is negative, is bad, and so it's not part of a healthy relationship. A healthy relationship is about mutual respect, boundaries, assertiveness, willing to share feelings, emotions, willing to be vulnerable with each other, willing to be open and honest with each other, knowing that it's going to take time, energy, effort to be in the relationship, and putting all that time, energy, effort equally into the relationship, and be able to explain to each other what's working and what's not working. In a healthy relationship, you would be praising the other person about what's working, and if something's not working, tell them. So you'll be giving them equal good feelings as well as feelings that, oh, I do need to improve. And in a healthy relationship, the other person would be looking to improve themselves. They wouldn't be looking to change you, but improve themselves. All right, I've had guys saying, oh, I think you should have your hair like this. I think you'd look better with makeup. Is horrible, because it's like, well, you don't actually see my natural beauty. You just want me to plaster stuff on my face and change me. That's horrible. So the person shouldn't want to change you. They should love you for who you are. And they shouldn't be avoiding you. They should be facing the relationship head on. They should be helping you in it. They should be your bestest friend. And you should be working together as a team. A relationship is teamwork. Teamwork makes the dream work. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have got a lot out of it, please comment below. Love to know what you think. Don't forget to share it with someone who may benefit from it. Subscribe to this channel, hit the bio icon so you never ever miss an episode. Lots of love to you. And don't forget to get Asexual Perspectives on Amazon now. Barnes & Noble, Waterstones, or Blackwell's. It's also on. Bye. Lots of love.